When you look at the financial world, you don't see clear rules, absolute truths, or fixed realities as most people assume. Instead, you see uncertainty, misconceptions, and constantly shifting dynamics. One of the most important things I've learned in my life is this: people struggle to see reality as it truly is, because we all perceive the world through our own biases, fears, and expectations. This applies not only to individuals, but also to markets. Markets are not rational. They are the sum of human behavior, and humans are often irrational. As an investor, the first thing you must understand is this: you don't have to be right. Yes, that may sound strange to many people. We are taught from childhood that we must always find the right answer. But in finance, this mindset can destroy you. What truly matters is how much you make when you are right, and how much you lose when you are wrong. If you can keep your losses small and let your profits grow, you will succeed in the long run. This is a matter of mathematics, not ego. I call this discipline. Most people fail not because they lack knowledge, but because they lack discipline. They enter a position, the market turns against them, but they refuse to accept it because their ego won't allow it. They say, "I'm right, the market is wrong," but the market is always right. Let me tell you this: if an investment makes you emotional, you are most likely making a mistake. Fear and greed. These are the two most powerful emotions in the market, and they prevent people from making rational decisions. If you want to succeed, you must recognize these emotions and learn how to control them. My approach has always been simple. The moment I realize I'm wrong, I exit the position. I don't wait. I don't hope. I don't pray, because hope is not a strategy in the market. Now let me introduce one of my most important concepts: reflexivity. Reflexivity is the idea that people's perceptions influence markets, and markets, in turn, influence people's perceptions. What does this mean? Let me explain with a simple example. When the price of an asset starts to rise, people begin to believe it's a good investment. More people buy it. This pushes the price even higher. But here's the key point: this rise is not always based on real value. It's based on perception, and that perception can turn into a self-reinforcing bubble. Throughout history, many financial crises have occurred for this exact reason. People don't buy reality. They buy each other's beliefs. So if you want to succeed in the market, you must question the crowd instead of blindly following it. The crowd is often wrong, but that doesn't mean you should always go against it. What matters is understanding when the crowd is right and when it is wrong, and that comes with experience. I have made many mistakes throughout my life, but those mistakes made me stronger. A key part of success is learning from your mistakes. If you don't learn from them, you will repeat them. And in the market, repeating mistakes usually leads to bigger losses. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. I didn't focus only on making money. I also tried to understand how societies function. The concept of an open society is very important to me. An open society is one where people are free, where ideas can be expressed, and where mistakes can be corrected. In closed societies, mistakes are hidden, criticism is suppressed, and reality is distorted. This applies not only to politics, but also to finance. Where there is no transparency, risk grows. That's why when you invest, you must look beyond numbers and analyze the system itself. A country's political structure, rule of law, economic freedoms. All of these play a critical role in investment decisions. Because money is not just numbers. It's about trust. And when trust is broken, even the biggest markets can collapse. Now let's return to individual success. If you truly want to succeed, you must ask yourself, what am I doing differently? Most people consume the same information, read the same news, and make the same decisions. That's why most people get average results. If you want to stand out, you must think differently. But this is not easy, because thinking differently often means standing alone. And people are afraid of being alone, so they choose what is comfortable, even if it's wrong. But remember, the comfortable path is rarely the right one. Success requires making uncomfortable decisions. It requires taking risks, but not random risks. Calculated risks, controlled risks, and most importantly, manageable risks. If you cannot manage risk, you cannot manage success. Finally, let me say this: if you want to survive in life and in the markets, don't aim for perfection. Perfection is an illusion. Instead, be flexible. Develop your ability to adapt. Stay open to change, because the world is constantly changing, and those who fail to adapt fall behind, but those who adapt always find new opportunities. Remember, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and the ones who win the marathon are not the fastest. They are the ones who stay in the game the longest.